The distraction. The media has you watching a chess match. They point to Taiwan, to the silicon foundries, to the latest AI model. They tell you the future will be decided by who controls the most advanced chip designs. And while you're watching their game, the real players have flipped the board over. The entire conflict is a distraction, a brilliantly executed piece of theater to keep your eyes on a war that no longer matters, because the fight for silicon supremacy is over. It ended the moment a handful of secretive labs perfected a process they don't speak about in public. They found a way to build electronics from a material that breaks the laws of what we thought was possible. A material that makes the concept of overheating obsolete. A material that can handle so much power, it renders an entire generation of military hardware useless overnight. This isn't about a faster phone. This is about a fundamental reset, a shift in power so absolute that the nations who control this new technology will have the ability to turn everyone else off. They are not fighting over silicon. They are fighting over carbon, and you have been watching the wrong war. The tyranny of silicon is over. For 70 years, we have lived under a benevolent tyranny, the tyranny of silicon. It's a word so synonymous with progress that we named the heart of our technological empire after it. Silicon Valley. It sounds permanent, foundational, as if our entire digital world was built upon the most perfect material imaginable. This is a carefully constructed lie. The truth is, our civilization runs on a compromise. A 70-year-old bargain we made with physics, and the bill is finally coming due. Silicon was never chosen because it was the best. It was chosen because it was good enough, and more importantly, because it was easy. It comes from sand, the second most abundant material in the Earth's crust. It's cheap. And it had one magical manufacturing trick. You could easily grow a stable, insulating layer of silicon dioxide on its surface. That single property, that convenience, is what allowed for the mass production of the transistor. It's what enabled the entire computer revolution. We didn't choose the strongest possible foundation. We chose the one that was simplest to build on. We built our global skyscraper on a foundation of wood, not steel, because the lumber was close by. And for decades it worked. This era of convenience is over. We are now slamming headfirst into the fundamental, non-negotiable limits of the material itself. The first limit is heat. Every transistor on a chip is a microscopic switch, flipping on and off billions of times per second. And every single time it flips, it generates a tiny puff of waste heat. When you have tens of billions of these switches crammed into a space the size of a fingernail, you are no longer dealing with a computer chip. You are dealing with a miniature furnace. The central problem of modern computing is not processing power. It is thermal management. The massive, whining fans in your computer, the liquid cooling systems in data centers, the multi-billion-dollar server farms built in Arctic climates, none of this is about making computers faster. It is a desperate, brute force battle against the thermal inefficiency of silicon. We are spending more energy cooling our computers than we are using to compute. This is not a sustainable system. It is a sign of profound systemic fragility, a single point of failure built into the core of our society. The second limit is leakage. Gordon Moore's famous law was an observation about shrinking transistors to pack more onto a chip. But we have reached a scale so small, so close to the atomic level, that the laws of classical physics begin to break down. The gates that control the flow of electrons are now only a few atoms thick. At this scale, electrons engage in a quantum phenomenon called tunneling. They essentially teleport through solid walls that should be containing them. This means our switches, our transistors, are constantly leaking electricity, even when they're turned off. It's like trying to run an engine where every piston is leaking pressure. This leakage wastes catastrophic amounts of energy and in a vicious feedback loop, generates even more heat, which in turn makes the leakage worse. The chip is actively trying to destroy itself. This isn't an engineering problem that can be solved with a clever design. This is a fundamental betrayal by the material we built our world on. These physical limits have killed the economic engine of progress. Moore's law is dead, not because we can't physically etch smaller transistors, but because it no longer makes economic sense to do so. The cost of building a new fabrication plant, a fab, has exploded into the tens of billions of dollars, and for that colossal investment, the performance gains are shrinking with every generation. We are spending fortunes to achieve single-digit improvements. The paradigm of exponential growth is over. The incumbents, the giants of the semiconductor industry, will not tell you this. Their entire valuation, their stock price, their geopolitical leverage, is based on the myth that the silicon roadmap stretches on forever. They benefit from maintaining the illusion, from pouring billions into patching a sinking ship, because the alternative is to admit that their entire empire is obsolete. But while the world has been watching this slow-motion collapse, a different project has been underway in quiet laboratories, funded by military black budgets and patient venture capital. It wasn't about finding a better version of silicon. It was about replacing it entirely with the material we should have been using from the start. The endgame material, synthetic diamond. This isn't about jewelry. It's about a perfect, crystalline lattice of carbon atoms with properties that seem to defy engineering common sense. Where silicon struggles to shed heat, diamond is the most thermally conductive material known to man. A diamond chip doesn't need a fan or a cooling system. It uses its own structure to move heat away with terrifying efficiency. It runs cold. Where silicon leaks voltage and breaks down under pressure, diamond has what's called an ultra-wide bandgap. This means it can handle voltages, frequencies, and power loads thousands of times greater than silicon without breaking a sweat. It is nearly indestructible electronically. This is not an incremental step. This is a phase change. It is the difference between a propeller plane and a scramjet. All the complex systems we've built to work around silicon's weaknesses, the cooling, the power regulation, the error correction, they simply become unnecessary. It represents a total technological reset and the beginning of a new resource war. We are shifting from a world dependent on abundant sand to a world dependent on manufactured carbon, forged under immense pressure and temperature in a handful of highly controlled facilities. The power is shifting from those who can etch silicon to those who can grow diamond. The tyranny of silicon is over. A new, harder, and far more concentrated form of power is taking its place. God's transistor. To understand the scale of the revolution we are facing, you have to stop thinking of diamond as just a better material. It is not. It is a material that operates on a different set of rules. It is so perfectly suited for electronics, it's as if the laws of physics were designed with it in mind as the final, perfect state. It is not an engineered solution. It is a fundamental one. This is why some in the classified research communities refer to it, only half-jokingly, as God's transistor. It solves the core problems of electronics not with clever engineering, but with its own innate, almost impossible properties. Let's begin with the most primal constraint of our digital age, heat. A silicon chip is a thermal bottleneck. Imagine trying to cool a sealed, windowless room full of roaring fireplaces by attaching a small metal plate to the outside wall. That is the absurd challenge of cooling a modern processor. The silicon itself resists the transfer of heat. Diamond does the opposite. Its thermal conductivity isn't just better, it's grotesquely superior. At room temperature, it conducts heat more than 10 times better than silicon, and 5 times better than copper, which is the material we use specifically for heat sinks. Using our analogy, diamond doesn't just add a plate to the wall. It transforms the entire wall into a block of hyperconductive material that instantly teleports heat from the inside to the outside. It doesn't get hot. It moves heat. This single property changes everything. It means you can run a diamond chip at full power, indefinitely, without any need for fans, liquid cooling, or massive air-conditioned data centers. The chip cools itself. This allows for electronics of unimaginable power density, capable of operating in environments that would instantly incinerate silicon, from the inside of a jet engine turbine to the surface of another planet. The systemic fragility of our entire global computing infrastructure, its crippling dependence on cooling, is erased at the material level. The second property is even more profound. It's called the bandgap. In simple terms, the bandgap is the energy required to force a material to switch from being an insulator to a conductor. It's the cost of flipping a transistor from off to on. Silicon has a very low bandgap, around 1.1 electron volts. This is its fatal flaw. It's a low fence. It doesn't take much energy, in the form of voltage or even just waste heat, for electrons to jump the fence, causing the transistor to leak electricity when it should be off. This is the source of the leakage and inefficiency we discussed. Diamond's bandgap is a skyscraper. At 5.5 electron volts, it is nearly 5 times higher than silicon's. This difference is not linear. Its effect is exponential. Electrons do not accidentally leak over this barrier. To make diamond conduct, you must apply a colossal electric field, a field that would physically vaporize a silicon chip into a puff of smoke. Let's translate that from physics into power. This property means that a diamond component can handle voltages and power levels that are orders of magnitude higher than a comparable silicon part. A power inverter, the device that converts electricity for use in an electric vehicle or a solar farm, made from silicon is bulky, heavy, and loses a significant amount of energy as waste heat. A power inverter made from diamond is the size of a sugar cube, weighs almost nothing, and operates at nearly 100% efficiency. This isn't a minor improvement. We currently lose between 7 to 10% of all electricity generated on the planet simply moving it through the grid and converting it between AC and DC. A global grid retrofitted with diamond power electronics would save enough energy to power entire continents. It makes electric vehicles charge in minutes instead of hours, and extends their range by a significant margin because no energy is wasted in the conversion process. Who benefits from this? The nation that controls the manufacturing of these components holds the master key to global energy efficiency and the entire green energy transition. Now let's combine these properties and apply them to the domain where they matter most: warfare. An advanced radar system like the AESA arrays on modern fighter jets works by blasting out pulses of radio frequency energy. Its effectiveness is determined by how much power it can pump out. A silicon-based radar is limited by heat. If you pump too much power through it, it melts. It's also limited by voltage. Push it too hard and the transistors break down. A diamond-based radar has neither of these limitations. Because it runs cold, you can run it continuously at maximum power. Because it handles immense voltage, that maximum power can be thousands of times greater than its silicon predecessor. The result is what military strategists call the death of stealth. A stealth aircraft like the F-35 or the B-21 is not invisible. It is designed to be low observable, meaning it reflects just enough of a conventional radar signal that it gets lost in the background noise. A diamond-based radar changes this calculation entirely. It can pump out so much raw power that even the tiny, scattered reflection coming back from a stealth aircraft is enough to get a clear, weapons-grade lock. It burns through the stealth. It doesn't matter how sophisticated your stealth shaping or radar-absorbent materials are. You cannot defy the physics of raw power. 50 years of air combat doctrine and trillions of dollars invested in stealth fleets are rendered obsolete by a 2 mm chip of synthetic diamond. This creates a terrifying imbalance of power. The first nation to field this technology on a wide scale can see every invisible asset its rivals possess, while its own remain hidden. It is the ultimate strategic advantage, and it is born directly from the atomic structure of carbon. This is technological determinism in its purest form. The material itself dictates the new rules of global power. Forging stars on Earth. If diamond semiconductors are the key to technological supremacy, then the ability to manufacture them at scale is the master lock. This is not a game open to startups in a garage. The process of creating flawless, electronics-grade diamond wafers is one of the most difficult industrial challenges ever undertaken. It is a process of forging stars on Earth, requiring conditions of extreme temperature and pressure that are barely controllable with our most advanced technology. The capital investment is astronomical, the energy consumption is equivalent to that of a small city, and the intellectual property is more fiercely guarded than nuclear launch codes. This creates a natural chokepoint. Only a handful of players, corporations operating with the implicit backing of nation-states, can even afford a seat at the table. This is the new OPEC, but for computation and power electronics. There are two primary methods for creating these synthetic diamonds, each with its own strategic advantages and drawbacks. The first is high pressure, high temperature, or HPHT. This method is essentially a brute force simulation of how diamonds are formed deep within the earth. You take a tiny seed crystal of diamond, place it in a chamber with a carbon source like graphite, and subject it to immense pressure, over 70 tons per square inch, and temperatures exceeding 1500 degrees Celsius. It's like putting a mountain on top of a furnace. Over several weeks, the carbon source slowly dissolves and crystallizes onto the seed, growing a larger, high-quality diamond. The advantage of HPHT is the exceptional purity of the resulting diamond, but it is an agonizingly slow and energy-intensive process, best suited for creating smaller, thicker crystals rather than the large, thin wafers needed for mass-producing chips. The real game-changer and the technology at the heart of the current resource race is chemical vapor deposition, or CVD. This is a far more elegant, almost alchemical process. Instead of brute force, it uses precision chemistry. You place a substrate, a thin plate of diamond, inside a vacuum chamber. You then flood the chamber with a carbon-rich gas, typically methane, and bombard it with microwave energy. This creates a plasma, a superheated cloud of carbon and hydrogen atoms. The microwaves are tuned to a precise frequency that systematically rips the carbon atoms out of the methane molecules. These free carbon atoms then rain down onto the diamond substrate and, under the right conditions, arrange themselves atom by atom into the same perfect crystal lattice. You are literally growing a diamond one atomic layer at a time. The CVD process is the holy grail. It allows for the creation of large area wafers, 2 inches, 4 inches, and eventually larger, which is the prerequisite for commercial-scale chip fabrication. But the difficulty is almost unimaginable. The slightest impurity in the gas, the tiniest fluctuation in temperature or pressure, and the entire wafer is ruined. The process requires vast amounts of ultrapure methane and an absolutely stable supply of immense electrical power. The machinery, the microwave plasma reactors, are bespoke pieces of equipment, each one a closely guarded secret. The companies that have mastered this process are not household names. They are quiet, defense-adjacent entities like Element 6, a subsidiary of the De Beers Diamond Cartel, which has been secretly weaponizing its century of diamond expertise. Or companies like Diamond Foundry in the United States, and a constellation of state-funded laboratories in Japan and China, all racing to perfect and scale this technology. Let's apply the cui bono lens. Who benefits from this immense technological moat? First, the equipment manufacturers. The companies that build the CVD reactors hold the first key. Second, the producers of the precursor materials. Access to a steady, high-volume supply of 9,9 purity methane is now a strategic imperative. And third, and most importantly, the nations that can provide the one non-negotiable input: cheap, abundant, and stable electricity. The energy cost of running a large-scale diamond foundry is so massive that it becomes a primary factor in geopolitical positioning. A nation with sovereign control over its energy resources, be it through natural gas, nuclear, or hydro, has a decisive advantage. This is a resource war fought not just for materials, but for watts. This is why the development of diamond electronics has remained largely in the shadows. The players involved understand that this is a zero-sum game. Publicly announcing a major breakthrough is a strategic blunder. It alerts your rivals and accelerates their own programs. The goal is not to have a press conference, but to quietly build an unassailable manufacturing lead. To build the foundries, secure the energy contracts, and stockpile the wafers before the rest of the world understands the paradigm has shifted. The immense cost and difficulty of this process acts as a great filter. It ensures that the club of nations capable of producing these materials will be incredibly small. We are witnessing the creation of a new, two-tiered global system: the diamond powers and their technological dependence. The competition is not about designing the next chip. It is about controlling the forge. The death of stealth. Military power for the last half-century has been built on a single dominant idea: the doctrine of stealth, the ability to see without being seen. It began with the F-117 Nighthawk, a marvel of faceted angles, and culminated in the trillion-dollar F-35 program and the new B-21 Raider bomber. These are not just aircraft. They are the centerpieces of American and Allied military strategy. They represent the belief that technological superiority can create a cloak of invisibility, allowing for unchallenged access to any airspace in the world. This entire doctrine, this multi-trillion-dollar investment, is about to be rendered completely and utterly obsolete by a single, predictable application of diamond electronics. To understand why, you need to understand the fundamental lie of stealth. No aircraft is truly invisible to radar. It is a game of physics, not magic. A conventional aircraft is like a mirror in the sky. It reflects a strong, coherent radar signal directly back to the receiver. A stealth aircraft is designed to be a shattered mirror. Its complex shapes and radar-absorbent coatings are engineered to scatter the incoming radar energy in thousands of different directions, like a disco ball. The goal is to ensure that the tiny fraction of energy that does reflect back to the receiver is so weak that it is indistinguishable from the background atmospheric noise: a bird, a weather balloon, a random fluctuation. The aircraft hides in the static. This entire strategy has a built-in systemic fragility. It assumes a limit on the power of the radar sending the signal. Silicon-based radar systems are bound by this limit. The transmit-receive modules in their active electronically scanned arrays, or AESA radars, are made of materials like gallium arsenide or gallium nitride, which are better than silicon but still suffer from the same core problems of heat and voltage breakdown. There is a hard ceiling on how much power they can emit before they cook themselves. The designers of stealth aircraft know this ceiling. They have precisely calculated the exact amount of radar cross-section, Their aircraft needs to have to stay below the detection threshold of these legacy systems. Diamond vaporizes this ceiling. As we've established, a diamond-based semiconductor can handle power densities and frequencies that are orders of magnitude greater. When you build an AESA radar using diamond transmit-receive modules, you are no longer using a flashlight in the dark. You are using a searchlight. The sheer, brute force of the energy you can pump into the sky changes the fundamental math of detection. The signal is so overwhelmingly powerful that the tiny, scattered reflection coming back from the stealth aircraft is no longer lost in the noise. It stands out, clear as day. This is what is meant by burn-through. The radar simply overwhelms the stealth features of the target with raw, unstoppable power. The consequences of this are catastrophic for current military planning. Consider the F-35. It is the most expensive weapons program in human history. Its entire justification for that cost is its supposed fifth-generation stealth capability. But a network of ground-based diamond-powered radars, or even a less advanced fourth-generation fighter jet retrofitted with a diamond radar, can now detect and track it from hundreds of miles away. The F-35 in this new environment becomes just an absurdly expensive, aerodynamically questionable conventional fighter. Its primary strategic advantage is gone. The same applies to the B-21 Raider, the future of America's strategic bomber force. Its mission is to penetrate the most heavily defended airspaces on the planet unseen. Against a diamond-based air defense network, it is not a ghost, it is a target. This isn't a future, theoretical threat. The components are being fabricated now. The nation that successfully fields this technology first will achieve a level of situational awareness that is unprecedented. They will see everything that flies in their airspace, and their adversaries will see nothing. It creates an immediate and terrifying strategic imbalance. Every carrier strike group, every forward-deployed airbase, every deep penetration asset that relies on stealth for survival becomes a liability. They are trillion-dollar swans waiting to be shot. Who benefits from this disruption? Cui bono. In the short term, the defense contractors and nations who are first to market with the new radar systems will reap enormous profits and influence, selling them to allies and creating a new technological dependency. But in the long term, the true beneficiary is the actor who seeks to overturn the existing global order. For decades, the United States has relied on its technological overmatch, epitomized by stealth, to project power globally. The death of stealth erases that overmatch. It levels the playing field in a way that is profoundly dangerous. It makes conflict more likely, because the deterrent of overwhelming technological superiority has been removed. The fragility was not in the aircraft themselves, but in the foundational assumption that the physics of radar detection were static. The technological determinism of diamond semiconductors dictates that this assumption is no longer valid. The age of stealth is over, and the chaos of a newly transparent battlefield is about to begin. The grid on a wafer. While the geopolitical shockwave of diamond-based radar will redefine military power, the economic and civilian impact will be just as profound, though far quieter. The same physical properties that allow a radar to burn through stealth, the ability to handle immense power with near-perfect efficiency, are about to dismantle the single most fragile and wasteful system in modern civilization, our electrical grid. The grid is not a sleek, modern network. It is a century-old patchwork of compromises, a system so inefficient that a significant portion of the energy we generate is lost as waste heat before it ever reaches your home. Diamond power electronics will plug these leaks, and in doing so, will fundamentally rewrite the economics of energy. To grasp the scale of this, you need to understand the role of power electronics. Electricity is generated in one form, usually high-voltage alternating current, or AC, but it is often needed in another, like the direct current, or DC, used to charge a battery. The devices that perform this conversion are called inverters and converters. Every solar panel, every wind turbine, every electric vehicle charger, every data center, and every substation in the grid is filled with these components. Today, they are all made from silicon, and because of silicon's inherent limitations, its low bandgap and poor thermal conductivity, they are shockingly wasteful. A typical silicon-based inverter loses anywhere from 5 to 10% of the energy that passes through it, dissipating it as useless heat. This might not sound like much, but when you aggregate these losses across a national grid, the numbers become staggering. In the United States alone, transmission and distribution losses account for roughly 5% of all electricity generated. That's equivalent to the entire output of dozens of large power plants, simply vanishing into thin air. This is a classic example of systemic fragility. Our entire energy infrastructure is built upon a component that is fundamentally flawed. We compensate for this flaw with brute force, building more power plants to cover the losses, and installing massive, heavy, and expensive cooling systems to keep the silicon from melting. A diamond-based power inverter flips this entire equation on its head. Because of diamond's ultra-wide bandgap and incredible thermal conductivity, it can switch power at much higher frequencies and voltages with almost no energy loss. We are talking about efficiencies of 99.7% or higher. The device doesn't get hot. It doesn't need a cooling system. A diamond inverter capable of handling the same power load as a silicon unit the size of a suitcase is no bigger than a deck of cards. Now, let's map the second and third-order consequences of this efficiency revolution. Consider the electric vehicle market. One of the biggest hurdles to EV adoption is range anxiety and slow charging times. Both of these problems are intimately linked to the inefficiency of silicon power electronics. The onboard charger in your EV, the component that converts AC power from the wall into DC power for the battery, is made of silicon. It gets hot, it's heavy, and it wastes energy during charging. The fast charging stations you see on the highway are even worse, requiring massive liquid cooling systems to manage the heat generated by their silicon components. A diamond-based charging system, both in the car and at the station, would be a fraction of the size and weight, and would waste almost no energy. This means charging times could be cut by more than half. More importantly, the power inverter that controls the electric motor itself would also be made of diamond. By eliminating the 5 to 10% of energy currently wasted between the battery and the wheels, the effective range of every EV could be instantly extended by a significant margin, without changing the battery at all. The impact on renewable energy is even more dramatic. The entire green transition is predicated on our ability to efficiently capture, store, and distribute intermittent energy sources like solar and wind. The weak link in this chain has always been the inverters that connect these sources to the grid. The energy lost in these silicon components makes solar and wind less economically viable. Diamond inverters change the math completely. By capturing nearly 100% of the generated power, they make every solar panel and every wind turbine more productive. This makes renewable energy projects cheaper and more profitable, accelerating their adoption. Who benefits? The nations and corporations that control the diamond fabrication plants become the gatekeepers of the entire green energy economy. They will sell the key enabling technology that every other country needs to meet its climate goals, creating a new and powerful form of geopolitical leverage. This is the quiet side of the diamond revolution. It won't make headlines like the death of stealth, but it will restructure trillions of dollars in the global economy. It exposes the hidden fragility at the heart of our energy systems and replaces it with a robust, hyper-efficient alternative. It's a resource war fought not for barrels of oil, but for percentage points of electrical efficiency. The ultimate prize is control over the physical layer of the future global economy, a grid on a wafer. The stable qubit. The applications of diamond in military radar and civilian power grids are transformative, but they are still operating within the known realm of classical electronics. They are a superior replacement for silicon. But there is another, far more esoteric application where diamond is not just a replacement, but a unique and irreplaceable enabler. This is the race for quantum computing, a field so consequential that it represents a finish line for technological development as we know it. The nation that builds a large-scale, fault-tolerant quantum computer first will possess the ability to break every form of encryption that protects the world's financial, governmental, and military secrets. It is the ultimate skeleton key. And at the heart of the most promising approach to building this key lies a specific flaw within a diamond crystal. A classical computer bit is a simple switch, either a 0 or a 1. A quantum bit or qubit is fundamentally different. It can exist in a state of superposition, being both 0 and 1 at the same time. This property, along with another called entanglement, allows a quantum computer to perform calculations that are physically impossible for even the most powerful supercomputer. The central challenge of quantum computing is not the theory, but the engineering. A qubit is an object of almost unimaginable fragility. The slightest vibration, the smallest change in temperature, a single stray magnetic field, any interaction with the outside world, what physicists call noise, can cause the delicate quantum state to collapse, a process known as decoherence. This collapse destroys the computation. This is why the leading quantum computers built by companies like Google and IBM look like steampunk chandeliers, with massive cryogenic refrigerators cooling their superconducting qubits to a fraction of a degree above absolute zero, all in a desperate attempt to shield them from the noise of the outside world. This is a brute force approach, and it is profoundly fragile. Diamond offers a solution of stunning elegance. It turns the problem of fragility on its head. The diamond crystal lattice is the most rigid and acoustically dead material in existence. It is a perfect prison for atoms. This structure creates an ideal, silent environment for a qubit, effectively isolating it from the noisy outside world at room temperature. The qubit itself is not the diamond, but a specific, engineered defect within its crystal lattice. It's called a nitrogen vacancy, or NV, center. To create one, you take the perfect diamond lattice, which is made entirely of carbon atoms, and you knock out two adjacent carbon atoms. In the place of one, you insert a single nitrogen atom. The other spot is left as a hole, a vacancy. This combination, the nitrogen atom and the empty space next to it, traps a pair of electrons, and it is the quantum spin of these trapped electrons that forms an exceptionally stable and coherent qubit. Think of it this way. The superconducting qubits used by the tech giants are like delicate soap bubbles floating in a hurricane, which must be protected by a massive, energy-intensive fortress. A diamond NV center is like a soap bubble encased in a solid block of flawless, transparent steel. The diamond itself is the fortress. This allows the qubit to maintain its quantum state for milliseconds or even seconds, which is an eternity in quantum computing. More importantly, it can do this at room temperature. It does not require billion-dollar cryogenic refrigerators. This dramatically reduces the size, cost, and energy consumption of a potential quantum computer, making it a far more practical and scalable technology. This is not just about making quantum computing easier, it's about making it weaponizable. A quantum computer that requires a dedicated building and a power plant is a strategic national asset, a fixed target. A room temperature, solid-state quantum computer based on diamond wafers could, in theory, be made mobile. It could be placed on a ship, a plane, or in a hardened bunker. This is the technological endgame. The race is on to learn how to precisely place millions of these NV centers within a diamond wafer, link them together through entanglement, and read out their states with lasers. The nation that masters this fabrication process will hold a power that has no historical precedent. The ability to break public key cryptography, the foundation of all modern digital security, would allow them to read encrypted government cables, drain bank accounts, disable critical infrastructure, and forge digital signatures with impunity. All data that has ever been transmitted across the internet and stored in encrypted form becomes an open book. This is not a risk. It is a mathematical certainty. Shor's algorithm, an algorithm designed to run on a quantum computer, is proven to be able to factor large numbers, which is the mathematical problem that underpins RSA and ECC encryption. The only question is when, not if, a machine capable of running it will be built. The unique stability of the NV center in Diamond drastically shortens that timeline. It makes the quantum threat tangible and imminent. The ultimate resource is not just the material itself, but the unique quantum state it can protect. The geopolitical stakes have moved from controlling territory to controlling the very nature of computation and secrecy. The carbon chokepoint. The silicon-based economy had a democratizing effect on technology, not by design but by accident. Its core ingredient, silicon, is derived from sand. It is geopolitically neutral and limitlessly abundant. This forced the competition into the intellectual realm of design and the manufacturing realm of precision. But it was, at its base, a level playing field. The diamond economy is the precise opposite. It is a system based on manufactured scarcity and the control of strategic chokepoints. We are moving from a world where the raw material was worthless and the design was everything, to a world where the material itself is the ultimate prize. This is a new and far more brutal resource war, and it is being fought over the supply chain for carbon. The first and most critical chokepoint is the precursor gas. To grow a perfect diamond wafer using the CVD method, you need a steady supply of exceptionally pure carbon-bearing gas. The industry standard is methane, CH4, but it cannot be just any methane. It must be refined to isotopic and chemical purity levels of 99.99999% pure, or better. Any contaminant, even a few stray atoms of a different element, can disrupt the crystal growth and render the entire multi-million-dollar wafer useless. This level of purity is not a natural occurrence. It requires an incredibly sophisticated and energy-intensive industrial process. The companies that can produce this electronics-grade methane are few, and their client lists are a closely guarded secret. Control over the supply of this gas is the first link in the new chain of power. A nation without a sovereign, domestic source of this precursor is fundamentally dependent on those who have one. It is the 21st century equivalent of being dependent on foreign oil. The second chokepoint is the manufacturing equipment. The microwave plasma reactors used for CVD are not off-the-shelf products. They are bespoke, highly complex machines, each one representing years of research and development. The precise configuration of the magnetic fields, the design of the microwave emitters, the software that controls the gas flow and temperature with sub-second precision. This is the intellectual property that defines the industry. Companies that build these reactors, like Japan's Seki Diamond Systems or Germany's Aikstron, hold immense power. They are the new ASML, the Dutch company that has a global monopoly on the extreme ultraviolet lithography machines needed to make advanced silicon chips. By controlling the export of these reactors, a nation can effectively decide which other nations are allowed to even enter the diamond age. Export controls on CVD reactors are the new sanctions. They are a clean, quiet, and devastatingly effective tool of economic and technological warfare. The third and perhaps most overlooked chokepoint is energy. As we have discussed, growing diamonds is catastrophically energy-intensive. A large-scale diamond foundry, or forge, consumes electricity on the scale of an aluminum smelter or a small city. Furthermore, this power must be absolutely stable. A momentary power fluctuation can ruin a batch of wafers that has been growing for weeks. This creates a powerful geopolitical filter. Only nations with access to cheap, abundant, and reliable baseload power can hope to compete. This inherently favors countries with massive hydroelectric resources, advanced nuclear power infrastructure, or vast reserves of natural gas that can be dedicated to the task. This makes the energy grid itself a component of the weapons system. A nation's energy policy is now inseparable from its national security and technological strategy. The systemic fragility of an unstable or expensive power grid becomes a permanent barrier to entry into this new technological class. When you combine these three chokepoints, the precursor gas, the fabrication equipment, and the energy supply, a clear picture emerges. We are not stumbling into this new era, we are being deliberately funneled into it. This is a system of control by design. Unlike silicon, which is naturally abundant, the scarcity of the diamond supply chain is entirely manufactured. It is a series of industrial and geopolitical moats that ensure the club of producers remains small and exclusive. Who benefits? The early adopters who can vertically integrate this entire supply chain. A nation that can source its own methane, build its own reactors, and power them with its own sovereign energy will be untouchable. It will have achieved what strategists call technological autarky, complete self-sufficiency in the most critical technology of the century. Everyone else will be a customer, a dependent. They will be forced to buy the finished diamond components, with no visibility into their inner workings, potentially with built-in backdoors or kill switches. They will be buying into a system where the provider has absolute leverage. This is the resource war of the 21st century. It's not fought with tanks over oil fields, but with export licenses, energy contracts, and purity standards over the control of carbon. The Great Filter. We have followed the chain of logic from the atomic structure of a carbon crystal to the grand strategy of nations. Now we must synthesize these threads into a final, stark conclusion. The emergence of diamond semiconductor technology is not just another step in the relentless march of progress. It is a great filter. In astrobiology, a great filter is a hypothetical barrier that is so difficult to overcome that it prevents most intelligent life from becoming interstellar. In our context, diamond fabrication is a technological great filter. It is a barrier so high, so expensive, and so complex that only a select few nations will ever pass through it. Those who do will gain a decisive, perhaps permanent, advantage over those who do not. Those who fail or who choose to ignore this transition will be filtered out. They will be relegated to a new and permanent status of technological dependency. Let us assemble the evidence. We began by exposing the systemic fragility of our current world, a civilization built on the convenient but deeply flawed foundation of silicon. Its physical limits in heat and voltage are not engineering challenges, they are hard stops. This created the necessity for a revolution. We then saw how diamonds' impossible properties, its perfect thermal conductivity and ultra-wide bandgap, are not just improvements but a complete reset of the rules. These properties directly translate into dominant military capabilities, like radars that render stealth obsolete, and dominant economic tools, like power grids that operate with near-perfect efficiency. This technology is not a niche improvement. It is a foundational, general-purpose technology that will redefine every industry it touches. We then identified the players and the process. We saw how the immense capital and energy costs of forging these materials create a natural oligopoly. This is not a free market. It is a nation-state level competition with insurmountable barriers to entry. This led us to the ultimate prize, the stable, room-temperature qubit offered by the Diamond NV Center, a technology that promises to collapse the entire edifice of modern cryptography. Finally, we analyzed the supply chain, revealing the manufactured scarcity of precursor gases and fabrication equipment. This is not an open ecosystem. It is a closed system of chokepoints, designed to concentrate power, not distribute it. This is technological determinism in its most brutal form. The inherent properties of the material dictate the structure of the New World Order. Because diamond is hard to create, power will be hard. It will be concentrated. Because the supply chain is controllable, the world will be controllable. The nations that master this technology will have the ability to set the terms for global commerce, energy policy, and military conflict for the next century. They will be able to see any target, break any code, and power their economies with an efficiency their rivals cannot hope to match. What happens to everyone else? What happens to the nations that continue to pour hundreds of billions of dollars into building the next generation of silicon fabs? They are building monuments to an obsolete god. Their investments will yield diminishing returns, while the diamond powers make exponential leaps. They will find their most advanced military hardware is transparent and vulnerable. They will find their energy grids are uncompetitively wasteful. They will find their communications are insecure. They will not be conquered militarily. They will be subsumed economically and technologically. They will become functional colonies, dependent on the masters of carbon for the key components that underpin their society. They will be forced to buy black box technologies from the very powers they see as rivals, hoping they can be trusted, knowing they cannot. This is a zero-sum game. There is no second place. The transition from silicon to diamond is not an upgrade you can choose to skip. It is an extinction-level event for the old technological order. The great filter is active now. The race is underway in quiet labs and secure government facilities, and the vast majority of the world does not even know it has started. The media is focused on the software layer, on AI and apps, because it is easy to understand. But the real power has always resided in the physical layer, in the control of the fundamental materials that make everything else possible. The future will not be coded. It will be forged.